Greetings, everyone. It is a wonderful morning here in Southeast Georgia. The only clouds I really see is just those really thin kind of streaks across the sky. But it is lovely. It's low 70s right now. It's good for a little morning jog. Oh, it was nice. Now heading off to work. You can see the beautiful pinkish purple hues of the night fade away into that wonderful blue sky of ours that we have down here. Some things are happening across the U.S. Obviously, Trump continues to threaten many states across our nation with effectively martial law without imposing martial law, or declaring, I should say, legally declaring it. Governors and state legislatures trying to fight back, figuring out what methods they can use to fight against gerrymandering, and also some of them attempting to use rhetoric and just, their own bully pulpits to try and turn the conversation to show the true hypocrisy of it all. But hopefully it means that we won't be seeing weak paperback Democrats as much, but I feel like that's kind of what they like to fall to, because that's what their big donors like to fall to, at least on the federal level. So hopefully we can get some new blood in the House and in the Senate over the next year and a half. That requires groundwork from us here in Georgia and in other states across the nation, other counties, other cities, to really do kind of a revolution within politics that we have here. Hopefully a peaceful one. Sorry if the sun is getting in your eye. There's a riot march back there. But let's get into the news.
With a 30% decline in homicides over the past year, according to police.
This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals.
Yeah,
Critics accused Trump of having diminished mental faculties and warned him against deploying the National Guard, saying Trump never asked local officials if they wanted that type of help.
Mr. President, do not come to Chicago. You are neither wanted here nor needed here.
Governors typically have control of their state's National Guards, and late 19th century law prohibits the use of military for domestic policing. But the president can use the Insurrection Act to federalize the state's guard during times of rebellion. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul said he's prepared if Trump goes that way.
There's no foreign invasion. There's no rebellion. My office has filed close to 3 dozen lawsuits fighting the unlawful overreach of the Trump administration. And we're not afraid to do it again.
California filed suit with the National Guard's deployment in Los Angeles earlier this year, making some of the same arguments that Illinois leaders are making. It went to trial in June and now awaits a judge's verdict. It's unclear what concrete steps state leaders can take outside court to counter military deployment on city streets, but U.S. Senator Dick Durbin says there's something concrete that ordinary Chicagoans can do: protest.
My friends, don't walk away and say this is just another political issue. This is how democracies die. When people don't stand up and speak up for the basic constitutional rights and freedoms which are part of us in this country.
And Chicago's mayor called Trump's threats uncalled for and unsettling. For NPR News, I'm Alex Beckman in Springfield, Illinois.
The president is aiming to expand the role of the National Guard in policing using the Guard that is based in the District of Columbia. And he's also threatening to punish D.C. and other cities around the country if they abolish cash bail, which Washington has done. Let's talk about this with WAMU senior D.C. politics reporter Alex Coma. Alex, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Cashless bail is going to be a new concept to some people. So how's it work and why is the president so focused on it?
Yeah, well, the basic idea is that, if you're accused of a crime, you're being held in jail for trial, you don't have to post a money bond in order to get out. The decision is entirely in the hands of the courts or, the judges to decide, whether you're a risk to the community if you be released. And D.C. hasn't had, a cash bail system since 1992. The reform was sort of, made because I think lawmakers recognized that it disproportionately impacted poor black people stuck waiting in jail until their trial because they couldn't afford to pay.
And the president objects to this. Why? It seems soft on crime?
Yeah, his claim is that it lets murderers easily walk free, but that's extremely rare. Just 4% of all people here in D.C. were released before trial were accused of violent crimes last year. So, this is something that does not really have negative consequences. That being said, local leaders are still on edge here because Trump has been meddling with the city's affairs a lot recently, including seizing control of the police department, sending in the National Guard, and other federal agents.
What more does he want to do now with the National Guard?
Yeah, so he says he wants to train a special unit of the Guard dedicated to public safety in D.C., and he can do that because he does have command of the Guard here in D.C. and in the state, so there's no governor who would be in charge of it. Trump also wants to send similar resources to the Guard in other cities to assist in responding to quote-unquote civil unrest, but the Guard is of course limited by what it can do to patrol American cities. Troops can respond if they're attacked, but they don't have police powers or even really the training to assist police, so no one is really sure how this part is going to work.
How much of this can the president replicate in other cities where he would have less direct authority than he might have in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I think California points the way here. He can claim some sort of emergency pretext as he did in Los Angeles and send in federal troops, but he'll ultimately run into guardrails. You have governors standing to sue, such as Gavin Newsom, who did, and then they can play out in the courts. DC, you don't have the same situation, and I think that shows why he's doing things here. The city lives in perpetual fear that he's going to team up with Congress to revoke what limited self-governance the government does have here, and that situation is going to remain unchanged regardless of the president or party in power, unless the city is someday made a state. He has much less influence in other places unless Congress happens to step in.
Senior DC politics reporter Alex Coma of our member station WAMU, one of hundreds of NPR stations and communities across this country. Alex, thanks so much.
It's great to be here.
I think this really points to an issue that we've had for, really since the birth of DC is, since it's been controlled as this, supposed to be political neutral ground, right? Which in, ideological terms seems like a great idea. It's a place where, business gets done. The government business gets done, and there's no ideological, pressure one way or another. It's a neutral land for legislation to be accomplished, and for the legislation to be executed, and for the judiciary to interpret and uphold or strike down the law, right? So from all those, very ideological standpoints, DC seems like a great place. But the thing that it does have an issue with, or that, kind of fight back with reality, is that you can't have a capital, right, without all the things that make it a city. You can't have a legislative body and not have, homes and houses and apartments and hotels for those, legislators to live in, or at least stay in temporarily while Congress is in session, or while the judiciary is doing their part, right? While the White House is working, while the Pentagon is doing their thing, right? You need restaurants to feed all these people. You need schools to have a place for the kids to learn something of the people who work at these restaurants and these hotels and work at the electrical load dispatcher for DC. There's so much infrastructure, there's so much society that goes around with it, that because we've have this small half square on the Potomac River, since we've tried to control it as this ideological neutral ground, we've created a place with no rights within our own borders, where just so many people live, they work in both support of the government, right, and their own lives, of their own communities, of their own culture that has grown up, in this weird little place between Virginia and Maryland. And because of that, Congress has controlled it this entire time effectively, and it doesn't get the attention, it doesn't get the focus that it really needs. And though some power has been given back to people in DC, the people who actually live there, who make it a community, who make it a city, it's not enough, because Congress and the president, especially this president, who will do everything in his power to gain more power and to push the limits of the executive branch, will strip away anything that has been built up in DC. I mean, we're talking about a city, a district, an area within the United States that doesn't have the right to vote. Sure, they can elect local leaders, right? They can elect their own mayor and their own police force, all this stuff, right? But their leaders can just get usurped on a moment's notice, as we are seeing right now, and have the army deployed on their streets for no good reason, with no oversight within the first 30 days. These people don't have a member in Congress or the Senate to give them a voice on the federal level. Their votes don't even matter when it comes to federal issues, when it comes to national issues, and it's pretty gross, So I'm a proponent of DC statehood. I think anyone that is against DC statehood is because they are too ideologically blind, and don't understand the real world implications of having a huge. I mean, it is a huge lot of land. It is a city, a full city with so many people that live there. The implications of disenfranchising all those people that live there. Or if you're not ideologically blind and really reality ignorant, you know what DC statehood means, and it means more power to people with progressive mindsets, more power to people who know what is happening. Sorry, there's just a bus being down in front of me. It's more power for people who can actually. Oh, I'm in the wrong lane. Whoopsies. More power for people who can move this country in a better direction against corporate influence. So that's how I see it. But we will leave her there for the day. The radio sound really, really choppy. I think this is an important moment for us in American history. I guess every moment can be said that, because every moment can feel very important when it's happening, right? But this is a time where there can be a backlash against authoritarianism, against the inequities and the undemocratic policies and undemocratic structure that we have within our own country. And we just need to organize. We need to be talking with each other. We need to be getting people out in the streets. We need to get people out helping each other, whether that's in excuse me, whether that's doing charity work, whether that's doing social work, whether that's just picking up trash. It's a lot of things that we could be doing to be making this place a lot better. But it takes the work. It's not just going to happen on our own. So I hope y'all enjoy your Tuesday. Enjoy as this weather gets a little bit cooler and there's less heat bearing down on us. I'll catch y'all later.